need something connected because Fabrizio is a fabric to create, but I know yet I'm on the way thinking.
Hatzlacha.
תודה.
Okay, welcome everybody. We're learning Kuzari, and we're back at. So as we mentioned, the king is searching for what are the actions that God wants. What are the actions that God wants? Is there such a thing of actions that God wants? In the beginning, the rabbi says to him what it sounds like, that the Torah or the connection to God is only to a certain nation. God chose a nation, and that's it. Nobody else has a connection. That's what it looks like. And obviously, it has to be studied and understood. And so he starts off telling him about what happened with Avram Avinu and Yitzchak and Yaakov and so on. And the king is very upset. The king says, the Torah is only for you, right? Ve'en chayav bazulatchem, and that's it. Where is the universalism? Where is the whole world? Seems very selfish. So the rabbi says, you need to let me explain. I have to go and explain you a little bit. There's you have to understand the foundation, the build up, there's concepts, and I'll explain it. First of all, anyone who wants to join us, whether it's a convert or whether it's a ger toshav, there's concepts of people can live in Israel if they keep the 7 mitzvot bnei Noach. They can be involved. They can have they're not equal to us, but they have a connection. But what we said, that the Torah was given to us not because God created the world. The Torah was given to us because God took us out of Egypt. And that's where מפני שאנו סגולה מבני אדם. So if you would say that God chose a nation, so people could think, oh, okay, so maybe he'll choose a different nation. He chose this nation. He wants a nation. He could take another nation. It's something that you can replace. Like the Christians, they say, God, he chose you, but you sinned, and he kicked you out, and now he chose us. But now he mentions a new concept. Why were we given the Torah? Why were we taken out of Egypt? Why was everything happen? It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't that God just, was trying to find the nation and, okay, the Jewish nation, I chose them. There's this word that says, מפני שאנו סגולה מבני האדם. So this is where it all begins. What does that mean, sgula? So I looked up translation, sgula. I don't think there's a word for it in English. So the word sgula could be translated as a virtue or a merit. Am sgula could be as a treasure nation or a chosen people. Here, other translations are a virtue, a treasure, quality. It's like a nature that's built. It's a creation. It's a natural. It's something that is like a law of nature. It's a creation. It's like a certain property. It's a trait, which is very interesting. The word in Hebrew for sgula, right? Sagol, right? What is when we put the dots under the letter, let's say, right? So segol has 3 circles. Turn it, no matter how you turn it, it will stay the same thing. Right? Turn it. It's a built-in creation. So we have to understand this concept of Am Sgula. What does that mean? So you're right, the Torah is only for us. It only is fit for us. And it's because God took us out of Egypt with number 1. Number two, now you're going to learn a new concept. That's a complex concept, hard to understand. Concept of sgula. Am sgula. What does that mean? And this is the heart of the Kuzari. Okay? In essence, we are different than the nation, than the other nations, the other people. The Torah does not begin from the fact that God created the world. Because we, on the level of God created the world, we're equal to all the nations of the world. But, right? But, God created the world and He created different things. So, as far as it's true that as far as the creation of the world, everything is God's creation. All of mankind, all of the world, and everyone was created in what we call Tselem Elokim. Chaviv Adam Shenivra B'Tselem. Every human being has the image of God. And the Jews, we don't have more of an image of God than other non-Jews. As human beings, we have the same image of God. But the Jewish people in Egypt, we were created, there was a new creation. So it says, Chaviv Adam Shenivra B'Tselem, blessed, or Chaviv is like lovable, is a person who was created in God's image. Chavim Yisrael shekurim banim lamakom. But where there's another creation, it was a new creation that took place. And that's what that happened in Egypt. It was like that was the womb, that was the melting pot, that was the you have like a machine that extracts metal. What's that called?
Crucible?
We call it a kul barzel. A metal, I'll tell you in a minute. So we were created an iron reactor. Iron reactor. We came out of Egypt, we got the Torah, and we became a new person. Amzu yatzarti li. It says in Yeshayahu, I created this nation for me. So it's not that, okay, it could be replaced. God wants a nation, so He chose a nation. Maybe I'll take this nation, maybe I'll take that nation. No. And we know the story that says God went to all the nations and asked them who wants the Torah. The reason for going to them and asking them was to show that it's not for them. They don't want it. They don't need it. It's not built for them. The Gemara tells a whole story of how, like, in the end of days, all the nations say, hey, you didn't give us a chance. If you would have came to us, we would have taken it. I did come to you. Okay, but now I want it. So God says, no problem. I'll give you a simple mitzvah. A sukkah. Build a sukkah. So everybody goes on their rooftops, they build sukkahs. And what does God do? Brings a huge heat wave. And everybody walks out of the sukkah, kicks the sukkah, and says, I want to have nothing to do with this. The Gemara asks a question. Halacha is, if you build a sukkah and there's a heat wave, you're allowed to leave the sukkah. So why is that the proof that it's not for them? The answer is, why are you kicking the sukkah? You're kicking the sukkah, you're showing, I don't want it, When we leave the sukkah, we cry, oh, too bad I have to leave the sukkah. I so much love it. I want to be here. It's not for you. There's another story. The Gemara brings. At the end of the days, all the nations of the world, they say, hey, wait, we want. You didn't give us a chance. I asked you if you, no, now we want it. Okay, no problem. What mitzvah can we have? Here, try putting on tefillin. They put the tefillin on, and suddenly they see the war of Gog and Magog. They see all the enemies coming against the Jewish people. Immediately, they take off the tefillin, And they say the pasuk, "Nenatka et mosrotemo." We want to take off these strings. We don't want to be part of it, and they run away. So we see from all these stories that the Torah belongs to us. The Torah, the mitzvot, is built for us. It's not just because God wanted the nation; He chose a nation, so He could choose another nation. There's a sgula. It's a new creation. This is what the Kuzari is trying to teach us, and we need to internalize this concept of Am Sgula, that we have a creation that is another level of creation. We don't keep the Torah as human beings. We keep the Torah as Am Sgula, as God's creation that was created in Egypt. And coming out of Egypt, Yetziat Mitzrayim, is our birthday. Right? So according to this, we're very different than the nations of the world. Not from the material. We're not different material, but we're a different soul. So you're right. You said the Torah is just for you. Yes, the Torah is just for us. We're not missionaries. We have no desire to convince anybody that you have to take the Torah. Like the Christians and the Muslims, everyone has to be Christian. Everyone has to be Muslim. And if they're not, you have to kill them. And they all start with, God created the world. So if it's because God created the world and then He chose us, then for everybody it's the same. We say no. The reason why, who we are and what we are and the Torah that we keep, it's not because God created us. It's because God took us out of Egypt, and we don't want to convert people because it doesn't fit them. People think they're doing favors to people by converting them. No, let's just convert whoever wants. You don't understand? You're doing a damage to that person. Because till now he did seven mitzvahs, and that was his obligation. That was what he needed to do to fulfill himself. Now he's not doing 613 mitzvot. So you think you're helping the person to move up spiritually? You're moving him down so much because now he's doing something that is not fit for him and is not, like it says about Esav. It says when the day that the birthright was supposed to be handed over was the day that Yitzchak died. And what does Esav say? When he comes back hungry and he sees his brother making food, he says, "Hineni olech lamut velama li ze habechora." I'm dying. This is not fit for me. This is like killing me. I don't want it. Because it was not fit for him. That obligation of being a Jew and the mitzvot were something that were so not fit for him, and he was going to take on that responsibility, would destroy him. And he didn't want it. We're not missionaries. So, but like we said, it's not a simple thing. So, let's keep going. So when God says that He chose us, when God chooses something, it means He creates something. Right? That God created something, a nation in the world that's fit for His mission that He chose to carry out. Am zu yatzarti li tilati saperu. God wants a special nation. That, with a special nation, it has a special personality, a special connection to Him. And He created it. Where did He create it? In Egypt. Hundreds of years in Egypt. And the seed of that nation was the fathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And Yaakov didn't want to go down to Egypt. And God said to him, listen, don't be afraid. Because ki legoy gadol asimcha sham. I will create you there into a great nation. That's part of the process. It says if Yaakov didn't want to go down to Egypt, he would have gone with chains. And God worked it out that Yosef went down in chains, and He worked it out that Yaakov come down in a pleasant way. It was a need. It was something that was a must. That's where we became the nation. The nation was created. Okay, and this is it happened historically, but that's why I'm saying that it doesn't start from the Torah. It doesn't start from keeping the mitzvahs, right? It starts from God's choice, God's choice of this nation. So that's very important to know. The Torah is not what makes us the Jewish nation. The Jewish nation is what makes the Torah, that there's a Torah needed for this nation. And you cannot change a nature. So the king says, Amar Kuzari, ani ro'eh otcha mitapech. I don't like what you're saying. Kvar shav dibucha razeh achar sheshamen. I don't like what you're saying. You spoke nicely before. Nice and quality. Now you're speaking narrow. I don't hear universalism. You're talking racist. I don't like it. Why aren't you universal? Why is the Torah only for you? Why are you special from all, why do you see yourself as special from all nations? Suddenly the king looks at the rabbi as a racist. I don't like it. Amar Chaver, listen, whether I'm talking Rav Zeh ben Shamen, whether it's things that you find have worthy or things are not worthy of what I'm saying, harchev li libcha ad shefaresh oto. You can't keep cutting me off. Open your heart. Okay? You can't keep stopping me and telling me that I'm making a mistake. I can't speak this way.
Is it the number 39 Rav? Conversation?
Yeah, this is Amar Chaver, this is Kaf Tet, 29.
Yeah. 29. Okay.
Check 29.
Yeah.
You see it?
Got it.
How does he translate there? With its Ben Razeh Ben Shamen, Harchev li libcha ad shefaresh oto.
Just as here, lean on which, please just keep an open mind until I've explained myself.
Great. That's good. You have a good translation there. So if it's lean, if it's small and it seems narrow, or rich, very expansive and deep, just give me the space. You have to see the big picture. I have to build for you the foundations, and then you'll understand it once you let me build it. And I will explain it. Right? And this has been throughout generations. This has been the criticism that they had about the Jews, that that you're racist and that you're narrow-minded and all these other things. And so he goes on. Emor ma shetirtzeh. Fine, say whatever you want to say. Okay? Now, when we're learning, this book we're learning is called Emunah. It's very difficult because it's not an intellectual practice here. We're not learning here, is there God or isn't there God? And we're not learning also, let's learn with our intellect, who is God? What is learning Emunah? Learning Emunah is what is our relationship to God. The only thing I'm telling you are things that I experienced firsthand, whether it was me or my parents, and they passed it down to me. And these are things that I'm only talking about the relationship I have with God. Who is God? Does God exist? Does God not exist? I'm not getting into that at all. I'm just telling you the relationship I have. And the Kuzari, the king, it's very hard for him to accept that there's a special relationship between the Jewish people and God. It's like kids are sitting around fighting. Is there a king in the castle? Is there not kings in the castle? Is there a king in that big castle up there? Is there a king or is there no king? One kid is sitting aside, doesn't say a word. They turn. What do you think? Is there a king? Is there not a king? The king is my father. Come to my house for Shabbos. You'll meet him. I can tell you about my personal connection. And that's very hard for the king to accept, that there's a special relationship between the nation of Israel and God. And now the rabbi is going to explain to the king, what is this connection? Not things that are like, vague ideas about the creator of the world. I know nothing about the creation of the world. We have a special connection because we are an Am Segula. Because we have a nature, we're built, it's like a bike will always be a bike, but a plane can fly. It's a completely different, even though maybe that's not a good example, because the Kuzari is going to bring a different example. And the Kuzari can't accept that there's really such a thing as this special connection between this nation. Because, first of all, he hasn't accepted the fact that we're a special nation. Because the way he sees it, the king, everyone was created in God's image and everyone is equal. So now he's going to go, the rabbi is going to give him a class in understanding the stages. There's different, what we call madrigot, steps or stages or levels of creation. Right? Even though it's one world that we live in. But there's a difference in, like we mentioned, you have stones and you have plants. And he'll go into it explaining this. If you look in the world, because I'm trying to explain to you about something that is created differently. Okay, go ahead. Okay? We are connected to animals. But there's a very big difference. Yes, there's a connecting thread between all of creation. They work together. It was all created by God, I agree. But there is a very important distinction in different levels of creation. Right? Like God created the world, and everything that he created was created different. Okay? So as we say, Mavdil ben Kodesh lechol, ben Shabbat leyom tov, ben Nevim Ktuvim. There's stages. Okay? And in the person's body, you have certain parts of your body that your life depends on it. Take off your head, you can't live. Your heart, gone. But you can lose an arm, you can lose a leg, you can use an ear. Right? So the same thing with Amunah, there are levels. When we say the Jewish nation is special, we didn't make fun of anybody that's on a different level. We didn't say that a person's value is less because he's not the Jewish people. And later on he's going to explain that the Jewish people are the heart within all of the body. Right? It's not a heart that's in a fridge. It's a heart that's alive, that's breathing, that's giving energy and life to the whole body. Because we're a nation within all the nations. We are a living heart in a body. And all of the limbs are important for our health. So therefore, don't ask the question, should all the creation in the world be the Jewish people? No. It's like you're saying, should you want that all the plants should be human beings? All the animals should be human beings? Is that something you want? Or you want your whole body to be just a heart? You need to drink water, right? So you need to eat. So you need plants. You need, and so on. Everything works together in harmony. It's one organism, but there's different levels. And this is what the rabbi is going to teach the king. Amar HaChaver. Now we're learning 31. בדין העניין הטבעי נתחייב לקיחת המזון והגידול וההולדה. Okay, so first of all, do you agree with me that let's first of all, and it's very interesting also in the world, you have chemistry, which is stones and everything that has to do with the material, and then you have biology, it has to do with all of the plant life and all of the, right? It's two different worlds. Why is it two different worlds? Because no matter how much you try to take the chemistry and advance it, it's not going to become a plant. What does a plant do? A plant has seeds and creates new, it expands and it gives life, right? The plants, animals, you see that there's this power of giving birth to something. It develops, right? So you see there's like it ends, like the things that are, we call inanimate, the things that are chemistry, ends at a certain point, and something new starts. That's completely a new thing. And what is that? Plants. It's a whole nother world. It's like the plant has like life in it, right? The ability to grow. You don't have that in the world of chemistry. So now the king is starting to understand some very fundamental, important things. That there's a distinction between inanimate, which is lower, right? And then you move on to a tree. There's a female tree, there's a male tree. They pollinate. There's seeds. It's a whole world of life. It's a whole new reality. So you understand? You move from this subject, from chemistry, you're moving to biology, and now it's a whole new world. You need to learn it, and it's a whole new thing. So the king says, yes, obviously, I agree with that. It needs to be explained more, but I agree. אמר החבר, בעניין הנפשי התייחדו בעלי חיים כולם, התחייבו מהם תנועות, חפצים ומידות, חושים, נירים נסתרים, תאוות, זולת אלה. And when it comes to plants, well, you agree, animals. You agree that there's in animals something that does not exist in plants. There's personality. There's emotions. You find like they're different. You have like one dog that's like a violent dog. Be careful. Another one is sweet and gentle. Why? How does that happen? Like the plants, you go, you plow all the plants. They're all the same. You don't care about it. Here you have life in it. A higher level of life. It's not an advanced plant. It's a new existence. It's a new world. It's a biology. Right? We said, in plants you only have biology. But in animals you have something we call koach nafshi, a personality. There's like something, there's a living personality there. And we even have something in common between animals, right? Vayhi adam lenefesh chaya. Right? We also have certain things we're in common from animals. But you see But now he says, do you agree with that? Do you agree that there's a difference between animals and plants? I agree. Do you agree? This is like a cross-examination. If I told you that a human being, that a human being is different from everything alive, do you agree now that as human beings, we're different than animals? And again, that when we're talking about differences, it's like if I tell you that, like we said, a table. What's a table? A piece of wood with 4 chairs, with 4 legs. Oh wait, sorry. So we'll get there in a minute. I'll get there 1 minute. Do you agree with me that a human being is different than an animal? Yes. Do you agree that it's true? A human being has the ability to think, to talk, to tikkun midot, the obligation, this force pushing you to become better and to a healthy person. There's like a godly force that move upwards, become better, become more moral, become more kind. You don't see this. And right, like we said, in plants you have what's the natural force. Animals you see already emotional force. Human beings have the intellectual ability to think, the sech, what we call. The animals don't have a brain. Okay, you could train him to do some tricks, run around, bring a ball. Like, okay, you can do certain things. But to actually think, to actual talk, to actual, like this ability to, this is a human ability. Okay? The human brain is something that is developing and expanding. There's no expansion in animals of their intellectual abilities. Like we said, it could learn a few tricks, but that's it. The way it dies is the way it was born. But a human being has an intellect, has thought, as the Rambam says, that Tzelem Elokim, the image of God that's in the person, is the sechel. The ability to make choices. An animal has no freedom of choice. When it sees that food, it wants to eat it. That's it. It can be trained. It knows it'll be punished. But we are not a human animal. We are something completely different. We have de'ah v'dibur, Rashi says. V'hi adam nefesh chaya, Rashi writes, it means that he was given de'ah v'dibur, thought and wisdom and speech. And that's it, right? And because we're human beings, we're able to be social. We'll be able to, from our own, it's not only about our own personal, it's about our family morality. It's less selfish. It's about, it could expand all the way to the nation, right? And the talent of learning how to run a nation. This is what it means to be a human being. These talents and these manners and all these things. This is a human being, you see, is a completely new creation from a animal. Do you agree? He asked the king. He says, agree. Again, many people would not agree. Many people think that we're an advanced animal. It's very important to make the distinction. A stone and a plant are 2 different worlds. It's a new creation. A stone will never become a plant. No matter how much you develop it and advance it and try to make it expand and grow. An animal will never be a human being. Do you agree? Yes. Simple. Now he says, okay, now what's above? I told you, stones, chemistry, biology, animals, human beings. What's above, the next level above? I guess, says the king, ma'alat hachachamim agdolim. Maybe like the most wise person, a genius. He would be something that is like more. So he says, no, sorry, you missed it. No, I'm talking about a difference that's like the difference between a stone and a plant. What you're saying is prida mikrit. It's like there's a tzaddik and there's a rasha. They're both people. One person chose to be good, one person chose to be bad, but they're both still people. Or a table is what has wood and 4 legs. What if it's made out of marble and has 3 legs? Is that a table also? Yeah, it has the function to put something on it. This works to put something on it. What do I care? It works. I can still use it to put things on it. It's called a table. So, like we said, a tzaddik or a rasha was all created in God's image. And so he says, so there isn't something. There isn't. So the king says, well, what happens if I would tell you somebody can walk into fire, could not eat and not drink ever, 40 days, 40 nights. And his face is beaming that you can't even look at his face. And he never gets sick and never gets weak. And when he decides he wants to die, he tells everybody, listen, in a year from now, at this time, at this hour, I'm going to lie down like I'm going to sleep. I know when it's going to be. I'm going to lie down and I'm going to go. And he tells you everything that happened from the past and everything that's going to happen in the future. Now would you say that that's a new creation? If there was a person like that, would you say that this is a new person? What would you say? Would this be a change, a complete different creation, like the plants and the animals, or like the animals and the humans? Somebody who could do all these things. Would you agree? It's a completely different thing.
He's still human. It's just his capability is beyond natural.
Right. So what was that? You wouldn't say that's not a human. It's an angel.
Yeah.
It's not a human. That's what he says. The king says, no, that's not. This is an angel. This is not a person. If it existed, he says, if this exists, what you just told me, right? Avala malazoti Elohit malachit. It is God. This is like godly. This is not a person. An angel. If it exists, this is definitely right. It's not a plant. It's not an animal. It's not a person. It's something above the sechel. I would have to agree that this is an angel. And the answer is yes. The Jewish people are an angel. Who is he talking about? Moshe Rabbeinu. Everything he said here was about Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu went into the fire, and when the mountain was burning, he walked into a lava mountain. Right? Ha'ar kulo bo'er. Ha'ar bo'er. The mountain's burning fire. He walked into a volcano. The laws of nature, fire, are subservient to him. He decides. Nobody can look at his face. He has to wear a covering on his face because it's like a light that's beaming from his face that is so powerful. Nobody could look at it. It's like a material that is spiritual, beaming. He never gets sick. He never gets weak. He dies when he wants to. Nobody took his soul. 120 years old. He lies down. Hashem said, Moshe Rabbeinu, let's go. And he says, you agree? Yes. He knows the past. He knows the future. Now, would you say, is this a difference of a person? Is this a mikre, like a coincidence, like a wood table or a marble table? Or would you say this is something that is completely different? Okay. So the first question we have, why is he bringing Moshe Rabbeinu, one person, to explain the nation?
Because you're presenting the Am.
Moshe, what?
Is there inside each Jew is the potential?
Moshe Rabbeinu is the one Jew that reached the highest potential that a Jewish person can reach. We are in our ability, in our koch, we can reach these levels, right? Moshe Rabbeinu reached it in potential. Moshe Rabbeinu reached it in action. He maximized the Jewish ability to reach its highest form of existence. Moshe Rabbeinu, right? That's the proof you're bringing from one person, right? You want to explain to me Am Sgula? You bring Moshe Rabbeinu, right? We can't all not fast 40 days, 40 nights. We can't die according to like our will, the time we want. We can't know the past, the future. Moshe Rabbeinu is the essence of the soul of the Jewish people. That's why when Moshe Rabbeinu was up there and the Jewish people fell, they were doing the sin of the golden cow. God says, Lech red kitchadamcha, go down. The only reason you're here is because you're representing the Jewish. He's the representative of the Jewish people. He is the example of what we can reach. Okay? It's unbelievable.
Now it's 42, 41.
Now we're in 41. Okay? So Moshe Rabbeinu, like we said, that's who Moshe Rabbeinu is. 42 now. Amar Kuzari, Aval hama'ala hazot Elohit malachit. Malachit. Imi nimtzet. If it exists, what you're talking about, this is not a person. This is an angel. V'zeh midin ha'inyan ha'elohi v'lo min ha'sichli v'lo min nefshi v'lo min ha'tivi. This is definitely not a plant. This is definitely not an animal. This is definitely not a humans. This is above the sechel. I would have to agree that we're talking about a level of an angel. And this is how you describe the Jewish people, it's a nation of angels. Yes, we have a body, right? It's unbelievable. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. A human being is a shidduch, is a relationship between a body and a soul. An angel is completely a soul. An animal is completely a body. Right? An angel has no body. An angel has no freedom of choice. And also an animal. It lives its life based on its nature. And that's all it is. But a human being is the shidduch, is the relationship of the two. And Moshe Rabbeinu, we're talking about an angel. And the Jewish nation is a nation of angels. Amar Chaver, so the rabbi says, Ele k'tzat te'arei hanavi shelanu. These are a few of ways that I can explain to you that describe our prophet. Asher en alav cholek. Nobody argues or disagrees that there was a person like this. Asher nir'a al yado lehamon hitchabrut hadavar Elohi bahem. That it was seen by millions of people that God connects to this person. V'sheyesh lahem Eloha. And that there is a God, manhigam kiltsono, that leads them his way, kfi avodatam vehimarutam, that he told them, hane'elam, and he told them the secrets that were hidden. Hodia ech haya chidush haolam, he told them how the world was created. Veyachas bnei adam kodem hamabul. How do we know about what happened, how the world was created? How do we know about Adam and Noach? How do we know about all this? And where it all comes from where it all begins. And how the nations scattered, and with the story of the building of Bavel, where God, switched their language because they were all working together towards a negative, to fight against God. So he switched their languages, and suddenly there was nations created. Where they lived, and who created? It says in the Torah, who created the music, the harp, Yuval, and who created Noach created the plow shed, the plow. And where the nations went, and the numbers of the years since the world was created. When we say number of years, okay, we're going to go into that. And that's what, from all of these things that the rabbi says, the king gets excited by the last thing. What do you mean? You, what does that mean? You know exactly when the world was created? Okay, we're in 44. מה כזה? גם זה טמא, יש אצלכם עניין ברור מבריאת העולם? After he mentioned Moshe Rabbeinu's greatness, that he knew certain things from the past and history and everything else from the creation of the world till now, the king is like, right? Are you sure that you are counting from the right time? Again, we count from when Rav Kook explains there were people before Adam Arishon, but the Torah tells us about people who had a connection with the creator of the world. Moshe Rabbeinu tells us. We didn't know that. Moshe Rabbeinu told us that we start counting from the birth of Adam Arishon. Adam Arishon was the first person that revealed God in the world, had a relationship with God. And it moved on to Noach, and it kept going, and he'll explain. But this is so now the Kuzari goes to like in brackets. Wait, how do you know that, right? Once he explained the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that he knew secrets from the past and how the history developed from the creation of the world until now. Are you sure that the years that you count are correct? Amar Achavel, the rabbi said, En ben hayudim bazeh machloket mehodu ve'ad Kush. From one side of the Jewish world to the other side of the Jewish world, every Jew that was ever existed, nobody disagrees on the count of the years. It's unbelievable. Not only are we sure that this is are we sure when the world was created? Or like we said, when was Adam created? There's no argument between the Jews in the whole world. Everybody agrees that Adam was created. So he says, how long? 4,500 years ago. Right? Upiltam mivoar mimot Adam Shet v'Noach. Right? From when Adam Arishon, the first person that had a relationship with God, happened in year 4,500. Sorry, that was 4,500 years ago. That's when the story happened with the Kuzari. Even though this is happening 500 years later when he's writing it, but he's sticking to the story, to the plot. And yes, from Adam, Shet, and Noach, Ever, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, until Moshe Rabbeinu. And he goes on and on. He uses that question as, even though he's not going off on a side note, but he uses it as a way to really explain his theory. He uses that as a way to explain his connection to God with the world. So I'm going to go back a little bit. We have 5 more minutes left. When other people, other nations, like we said, the Christians, the Muslims, are talking about the creation of the world, we also know that. Sorry, they talk about the creator of the world. We also know the creator of the world. But we don't start from there. We start from the Jewish people. Right? It's true. The only reason why we know the secrets that happened before the Jewish people is because Moshe Rabbeinu came and told us. He told us things that you can't know. But our faith does not start from knowing that Hashem created the world. Our faith starts from the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu met God face to face. We believe that Moshe Rabbeinu met and saw things that nobody could know and nobody can see. And he told us details of the creation of the world and how everything unfolded. But it doesn't start from Moshe Rabbeinu. It starts from the Jewish nation, and it starts from the Sgula HaYisraelit, from that natural creation, that new creation that God created, which is the Jewish nation. Right? So why does the rabbi tell us all these miracles and wonders that happened to Moshe Rabbeinu. It could also happen that a person could have all kinds of miracles. So you should know. The Rambam says the Jewish people did not believe in Moshe Rabbeinu because of the miracles that he did. You could do all kinds of tricks also with tuma, also with impurity, with magic, witchcraft. Everything begins from Ma'amad Har Sinai. Everything, right? It starts from our belief in Moshe Rabbeinu was from Ma'amad Har Sinai, from the Shechina that was the Jewish nation, the Shechina that dwells within Klal Yisrael. And the whole nation saw the words. That's when we had no doubts anymore for Moshe Rabbeinu. That's when we had no doubts. We knew it was all real. Our souls saw something. The Shechina was speaking through Moshe Rabbeinu's, voice cords? The voice cords of Moshe Rabbeinu? The vocal cords of Moshe Rabbeinu through his throat. That's something you can't understand. All the miracles of Moshe Rabbeinu come because of the holiness that's created in the nation of Israel. Right? So when the rabbi tells the king, what I told you before about Moshe Rabbeinu's face beaming and going into fire, these are only a few explanations of our prophet that is exalted beyond. And all the religions, they all agreed. They all said there was Moshe Rabbeinu. The Christians, the Muslims, they all agreed there was this person who gave the Torah, that he existed. So you see, Moshe Rabbeinu is an angel in a body of a person. And we, all of us, all the Jewish nation, we are angels in a body of a human being. Moshe Rabbeinu is us, but he brought out his full potential, his full ability. And us, we have not yet brought out, our ability to be prophets. We have not yet. Okay? So I just wanted to end with that. And yes, it does sound very racist. We're different. We never use our specialness or our power to control other people or hurt other people. We use everything we are to help, to bring good to the world the way God wants to do good to the world. Right?
Okay.
But we are different. We're not racist, but we're definitely different from any other nation. And even if we say day and night, we're not different, we're the same, it's not going to change the reality. You can't change what the Torah is full of over and over again. Letitcha Elyon al kol goyim. Am zu yatzarti. And over. V'ascha legoy gadol. V'nivrochu b'cha kol mishpachot ha'adama. Right? Hayom, thank God, right? Today, we don't have to be scared. People used to kill us and destroy us because they said we were, because we said that we're racist or whatever. Today, and every time we had an argument with the nations, they would kill us. Right? We'd win an argument, they'd kill us. And in the future, it will be revealed who is the true servant of the King of all kings. So that's it. We'll end here, and we'll keep going next week to explain the idea of, like we said, of the calendar and the different, and that takes us into a whole new understanding of how do we know the calendar and the years that we count and why is it important, and it really will give us in a deeper level of understanding of what is the Jewish nation all about. Thank you, everybody.